Starting, though, with multiple provinces, which have now pulled the plug on AstraZeneca's vaccine, at least for the first doses. That's raising questions from those who've already got that shot and about what to do with the AstraZeneca vaccines that are still on shelves. Ontario admits some of it may go to waste.
We will hold on to them, but it's all going to be pending receipt of the recommendations from NACI and Health Canada. We don't expect that there will be any or perhaps just a few doses that may expire. However, this is out of an abundance of caution because the safety and well-being of the people of Ontario has to be our top priority.
All provinces set to get more AstraZeneca doses next week, Ontario getting 250,000 of them. Dr. Dirk Huyer serves as Ontario's Outbreak Response Co-ordinator, and he is in Toronto. Dr. Huyer, thank you very much for joining the program. How do you explain to Ontarians who heeded the advice a month ago and got immunized with AstraZeneca that it was the right move then, but isn't the right move now?
Oh, it was so much the right move then. We had significant case numbers. We had a vaccine available at that time that provided significant protection from infection, serious illness, hospitalization, and death. And it was immediately available, and it helped to provide not only individual protection, but also broader population protection to help reduce the burden of illness in Ontario.
But certainly there will be some people now who are worried they made the choice they made based on the advice that it was safe and necessary and people should urgently go and get a vaccine if indeed they were eligible at that time.
At that time, we talked about the adverse effect. The rate was different than what we know it to be now, but it continues to be a safe vaccine. There are a very rare but significant adverse effect that can occur. So we would provide the information for people to understand the side effects and the adverse effects that can occur, just as we did then, we would now if we were using it.
And do you think that this is a temporary suspension, or is it something likely that's sticking, that we're not going to use AstraZeneca either at all or not for first doses going forward?
Really good question, and one I don't have a specific answer for, but what I can say is we did this under the abundance of caution. Mm-hmm. The adverse effect is a notable adverse effect. We know that the risk is now coming similar to what would be the risk of getting COVID, and so based upon that, we did a pause to really evaluate and understand if there are more potential adverse effects, and also knowing that there are other vaccines available, and our rate is still high, so we still are pursuing as quickly as possible to give vaccination.
Do you worry there are some people out there who just feel they made the wrong choice and feel perhaps that they were misled?
Yeah, I don't believe, well, they may feel they were misled. We based everything upon the information that was available to us at that time, and the risk of this unusual clotting disorder was about 1 out of 100,000, and we maintained that providing this was to an age group that was at that point felt to be at lower risk of having this adverse effect. And so we based everything that we had on the information. I can tell you this is a safe vaccine for the vast majority of people, and provided them at that time of high case volume, at a greater risk of serious illness from COVID, and weighing the risk at that time protected many more people and protected them individually, but also more broadly the province. 800,000 people, significant contribution to the fact that we've now achieved over 50% of the population in Ontario receiving one dose, and therefore minimizing spread, minimizing infection more broadly.
So here's something that I don't quite get. Ontario's decided to pause AstraZeneca for both first and second doses. Alberta's not done that, going to continue using it for second doses. And the logic, which Ontario's health minister acknowledged today, is that the data we have out of the UK, which is so far ahead in the use of widespread use of AstraZeneca, is that if there is a risk, however minuscule it might be, the risk is primarily with that primary dose. That when you're talking about the second dose, the risk of the VIT, the blood clot, goes down to about 1 in a million. So why is Ontario not using the AstraZeneca for the second doses?
Yeah, our pause yesterday was on first doses. we are carefully evaluating and planning what the second doses would be. And the factors that we have around second doses are supply, which we learned today. There's 254,000 additional doses coming in next week. The second is making sure that we understand the data around second doses to validate that in fact it is 1 out of 1 million. That's what we've understood. We want to make sure that we know that for sure. We want to think about the timing of second doses. We want to think about the 51,000 that we have available right now in Ontario as to whether we would use that in second doses. And also there's a question about mixing using AstraZeneca and then an mRNA, and there's data from the UK. So all of those factors come into play right now as we're making decisions about the second doses. So we have not said not to use it in second doses per se, where it's any new doses that we made the decision yesterday on.
Okay, so a lot to break down there. You acknowledge, you note that there are 250,000 more doses coming into Ontario, part of the 655,000 expected starting next week from AstraZeneca that are coming into Canada. What is the potential that these are just going to go onto a shelf and not be used? And I think also of the 50,000 leftover doses from previous shipments that are sitting there that are set to expire much sooner.
Yeah, I can tell you this is a discussion I've had maybe every hour today to be able to make our plans and to think about how we will utilize those particular numbers in our calculations and our evaluation about second doses that would be provided to those who have already received a first dose of AstraZeneca. We know that 2 doses provides a significant protection overall. In England, you can see the results of AstraZeneca and their case volumes going way down and overall protection. So we are calculating all of those numbers, but also looking at the potential risk of a second dose based upon what we understand from the UK and figuring that into the decisions around second doses.
So those leftover doses, the 50,000, when do they expire?
Some of them expire at the end of May, and many of them are at the end of June. So we have
So the window on it is sort of fast closing, and with this pause that's in place in Ontario, which we don't know whether it will become permanent. Should we be giving those 50,000 back to the feds? Should we be sending them somewhere else where they might be used? I mean, it seems almost baffling that 6 weeks ago we were almost in this panic about not having enough vaccines, and now there's a potential that some of them could expire on the shelves.
Yeah, great question, and one that those are all within the discussions that we're having right now as to decide exactly what to do with those 50,000. As you know, we made the decision yesterday, less than 24 hours ago, and we've been in full-on conversations since that time to determine what to do in a very quick turnaround.
Any risk that any of them will end up in the garbage?
Well, I hope not, but again, is there a risk? We're having the conversations. I'm not suggesting that that's an avenue that we're going down. We're really making sure that we use all vaccines the best available way that we can in Ontario.
You mentioned earlier vaccine mixing. So we are awaiting more data. Some of it's going to come out later, through the course of today and tomorrow. And this looks specifically at this idea of, if you had the AstraZeneca, do you then get one of the mRNA vaccines as your second dose? Where are you on that?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's coming out today or tomorrow. The UK are doing studies on this, and we're anticipating to hear from them late May, early June. Mm-hmm. So unless you may have something up.
Yeah, I think the stuff today is more like around potential side effects, but you're right, the timeline on efficacy is further down the road.
Yeah, so we'll take any information when it comes and add that into our conversation as quickly as we can. The Ontario did ask NACI to try and provide us some view on that. That's the National Advisory Committee on Immunization. Dr. Williams asked NACI to help provide some information, and we've got others looking to see what information is available from the UK.
I mean, there are a lot of premiers and health ministers right across the country, and I would include Ontario in this, who are talking about this very real possibility. I think some people have already got it into their head that this is going to happen, that you very well could or will or want to get an mRNA vaccine if you got the AstraZeneca in the first place. Does that concern you? Does it seem like it's a done deal that that's going to happen?
Well, it's not a done deal because we haven't provided that direction. So it's a piece within our second dose planning for AstraZeneca, and it's a piece that will be data informed and evidence informed, and really providing a full understanding to the best of our ability based upon what we know.
Dr. Huyer, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for your interest.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.